Hello, everyone. Welcome to AWS Inforce 2024. My name is Gerardo Castro, and I'm from Peru. I have been an AWS security hero since 2023, and I work as a security solution architect at Kaleidos, an advanced consulting partner with AWS. In this lightning talk, I will discuss how we can protect data in generative AI applications developed with Amazon Bedrock. And to Generative, we will address the following points. The first point, what are the perspectives and challenges of generative AI? How can we improve our cloud security posture? 3, the core of this talk. How can we use generative AI safely? And finally, some conclusion in my personal opinion. One of the first challenges that security teams encounter is the obstacle to innovation. Traditionally, the security team was known as the no department. For example, when the development team released new features, go to production environment, they go to the security team and are told, knock on my door, right? And so sometimes to get the feature into production, they avoid going back to the security team, hoping they never find out. In general, then the second point, the shortage of experts is quite significant, especially in the field of security. And this is often linked to insufficient budget for hiring specialists. With new technologies advancing rapidly, a dynamic risk environment is created, which constantly changes and requires the security team to stay updated. Finally, the security team must ensure the privacy of customer data in addition to complying with all industry regulation. C.J. Moss, Amazon CISO, once said, "We're not playing checkers, we're playing chess at 215 kilometers per hour on the internet with everyone watching." The idea of this phrase is that technology progresses so quickly that computing capabilities are available to everyone, both the good and the bad person. True? Within the AWS cloud, there are many services that can help you enhance your security posture. Many of these services are free tier, such as Amazon Cognito, for example, where the first 50,000 users are free. And from 50,001 users onwards, you are charged $1. Additionally, there are many other services that offer a free trial to 50 or 30 days, allowing you to test the service and estimate the cost of these different services on your infrastructure. You'll find that they are more cost-effective than many other service security solutions on the market. This aligns with AWS goals of helping you improve your security posture through the services available in their catalog. Among all of these, as AWS customer, we appreciate the wide range of services and extensive documentation available, right? However, where should one begin? How does one prioritize recommendation? We have advised that question. First, priorities what will we use the most benefit and what will be easiest to implement. And the intersection of both elements, easier and bigger benefit, are quick wins. Quick wins are recommendations that most companies can implement in 1 or 2 weeks. From now there is a path of evolution and improvement. Isn't that we went from being unsure to being safe, and then putting workloads into production. In the cloud, we managed to have a cloud environment with initial basic security. We will mature in a timeline, thinking that today will be safer than yesterday. To achieve this, we recommend the security maturity model in AWS. In the QR, you can scan and go to the security maturity model website. This is a model that has phases. The first phase is where the quick wins are, right? This security model is start one step before where security model typically start. First, we recommend this recommendation that can be executed quickly to obtain quick results. Things isn't only about mitigating risks, but the longer it takes to mitigate them, the larger my exposure window will be. Second phase is the foundational phases. They are services and recommendations that everyone should have within AWS Cloud. And third, the efficient phase, which we should all aspire to. How to have a plan for the future to become efficient in cloud security governance. And the fourth is when the company have higher needs. The question is, what should we do now? How to safely use generative AI? Surely you have already realized that all these images that appear here were not made by humans, but by generative artificial intelligence. The question is, what is generative artificial intelligence? It is the new branch of artificial intelligence that allows us to create images, videos, music, etc. The main difference is with traditional AI model that use perhaps a smaller model for a particular purpose. Generative AI use fundamental models that are AI models fed by a large volume of data generated by these functional models, and that are multi-purpose. The same model can cover different use cases. It's an open secret that many of us are concerned that will the speed at which generative AI advance. It will not allow us to understand and mitigate the associated risks. And these are the security issues about generative AI. In the first is, how can adversaries use Gen AI? How do we protect ourselves? In the other hand, how can we improve security with Gen AI tools to reduce efforts and improve the result security teams? And finally, how do we protect our enterprise application use Gen AI? In the first topic, what are the three that Gen AI brings? Phishing. In the first point is phishing. An adversary can ask Gen AI to compute an email using the dialect of the country of the person being impersonated, which makes the attack more personalized. On the other hand, we have the generation of malicious code. I don't know if they have tried to test. I hope no, but if you ask Gen AI to generate malicious code, it will tell you that it can do it. But perhaps an adversary with a little more tuning can ask for a code to encrypt. The thing changes a little, right? And then it can ask you for a code to remotely access an instance and thus generate all the steps to achieve the ransomware. And another important point is this fake and perfect voice cloning. Let's imagine the CTO of the company uploads a video to the internet where where he gives a public talk. An adversary can download that video and through GenAI use the CTO's voice to then send an audio message to the CFO and tell him, we have acquired a new company. Make this immediate transfer. That they believe the CFO can do by listening to the voice of the CTO. And the second topic has to do with how to improve security posture using GenAI. Amazon Q developer and assistant chat through comments in the code can give us clues when our code is not safe. We may even ask you to generate a secure code for us. And second is Amazon Inspector analyze vulnerability in the code. For example, Lambdas. The interesting here is that it will not only detect vulnerability in the code, but it is capable of giving you a recommendation to replace that vulnerability line or line of code with a more secure one. This service helps us in the service Amazon Detective. This service helps us by analyzing all the compromise indicators to find the root case of that incident. And using GenAI allow us to obtain a text describing in clear words what the result of the investigation was. And the third topic, we are going to talk about how we do when we want to build applications that take advantage of this fundamental model to remain their business process and give more value to the customer. How we do so that they are safe. There is a service that you have surely already heard in different talks during of this day, and this is Amazon Bedrock, right? Which has several advantages in terms of the availability of being able to access different models through an API, having several models to choose from for the use case they need, among other key features. But we are going to focus on talking about how to improve the apportation of your data and what capabilities Bedrock has to use GenAI responsibly. When you use Amazon Bedrock, the data you share with different providers, functional model within the AWS cloud is not shared. You are always in control of your data. For example, Amazon has its foundational model called Titan, Amazon Titan. And customer data is not used to improve this model or that of any other provider since isn't shared with anyone. In the first case, in data security, customer data encryption is always encrypted in transit with a minimum of TLS 1.2 or higher. The cipher is Amazon using encrypt address managed by AWS KNS. Integration with AWS Identity and Access Management Services to manage access to inference, allow or deny access to a specific model, enable access to the AWS Managed Console. Using AWS CloudTrail to monitor all API activity and troubleshoot as it integrates with application tunnel. The models are always accessed securely, using encryption in transit, but in addition to this, we have two other options. From the VPC to the AWS account, you can access the Amazon Bedrock endpoint through internal wiring with sound going through the internet, and from on-premise, you can go through a VPN or direct connection. Bedrock uses KNS to store encryption keys with a very high degree of security. These keys are stored on a physical device known as a hardware security model, HSN, which comes with a feature called Tamper Plus. If someone tries to tamper with what is stored on the disk, automatically destroy the information content. In addition to this, AWS has hardware devices that are custom made so that no AWS operator can take the key out of the box. What you encrypt is completely up to you. Another important point is that KNS use multiple availability zones to achieve resilience with encryption keys and not lose data, and you can even do replication between regions. Let's look at this architecture and understand why providers of different base models do not have access to your data. In the first point, all foundational model providers can only write their models to the S3 bucket, which is located within an account that belongs to AWS. That account is managed by AWS, and no one else has access to it. Amazon Bedrock also uses this account. We have the user interacting with Bedrock through an API or console, entering a message, use the prompt, and the model provider cannot access all of the interaction. 4, if you create your own models, the data resides within your AWS account. So no one will have access to your account. When you create a custom model, it will be encrypted with its own KNS key, which will present access from AWS and some other provider. Remember that the model provider will have access to this repository and not any others. All of this designate to be the safest way to use the fundamental model. Given that Amazon Bedrock is in the middle between user input and fundamental models, it has the ability to intersect those given inputs and say, you know this, I don't want my chatbot to respond on this topic. That is, if we build a chatbot for technical support on a particular topic, we would not want it to talk about politics with user and even give its opinion on which president to vote, for example, and then appear in the newspaper. The chatbot of this company talk to this or influence about which president vote. Then we can deny certain topics, filter the content. That is, we can not only deny input to the chatbot, but also deny output from the chatbot. We can block content that might be adult, content may be adult, or that doesn't generate code when that is not the purpose. Insert guardrails, sensitive information filter, mean that when we create our custom model and we accidentally send sensitive data such as credit card data, we can tell our chatbot to never reveal credit card data, even if we have it as part of the information that error was granted. So we can say that even if we fail something in defense, we will have a goalkeeper who will hack us by stopping all the goals. Keyword filter, for example, our CTO said some words in a conference that he shouldn't have said. And then we want to prevent any user from talking about the topic with our chatbot. We update this keyword filter and nothing ever happened. And some conclusions. Build your generative application on AWS. Remember, your data is yours. AWS and no one else will learn from your data. Second, encryption everywhere, from this side and the other side too. Granular access control with AWS IAM. Encryption with keys that only the client can use. Your custom model is encrypted. Isn't inaccessible even to AWS include. Your data remains in your account, always. AWS is a safe place to build your generative application. And the next steps are leverage the AWS security model to improve your security posture. Access the security status of your workloads. Raise awareness in your organization about the art of the possible with GenAI and its risks. And finally, explore Amazon Bedrock. Thank you so much.